Hi, and welcome to a sort of a brief introduction to Geomagic Studio. I'm going to start off. I have the program already open. I'm going to bring in a file that we created using 123 3D Catch, and this is an OBJ file. So I'm just going to drag it onto the window, and it's going to open up. It's going to ask me if I want to run the mesh doctor. I'm going to say no for now. That's a diagnostic tool that we'll be using later on. I'm just going to go briefly through some of the navigation. So as far as rotating goes, clicking the mouse wheel and dragging will give you rotation. Clicking Alt and your mouse wheel will allow you to pan. You also have some preset views on this icon over here. So this will take you to different views of the object that way. As far as selecting mesh faces goes, probably by default you'll have the lasso selection tool enabled, and that just allows you to essentially select anything that's within that lasso that you've drawn. So anything within that area gets selected. To deselect, you're going to hit Alt, actually Control, and again, just drawing over anything that was previously selected becomes deselected at that point. You'll also notice that we have a brush tool here. So brush tool again works in very much the same way. You can brush, and anything that you touch with the brush gets selected, and again, Control and brushing will deselect the area that you've brushed. If I were to select an area here, for instance, what happens on the other side of the face? Nothing. Okay, so I'm only selecting what is visible, and that's controlled right here. So select visible is enabled right now. If I wanted to select through the whole thing, let's say for instance I want to get rid of a large area, so I have my lasso selected right now, and I want to select a large area to get rid of it. Anything that's selected, when you hit delete, it will delete it. So that's kind of good to know, I guess. But you'll notice that it didn't actually select through the whole face. So it's a pretty tedious process to always have to be looking at the front face of your mesh in order to be able to select it. I'm going to undo that deletion by just Control Z. And by the way, you have, I believe you can only undo the last step that you did. So just keep that in mind. If you get too far ahead of yourself, you might have to start from scratch again. So be sort of aware of that limitation. What I wanted to show you was that you can actually select through an object as well. So if I enable select through, now when I select this area, it actually selects right through it and basically selects everything. So if I wanted to get rid of larger areas, that would be probably the best approach to use, would be to use a select through. There's no easy way that I know of to deselect everything, so you really do have to use Control to deselect things if you don't want them selected. You'll also notice right now that I don't have anything available in my dialog because I don't have any tools enabled, but I do have access to the display here. And the display gives you the ability to change how you're looking at the information. It's sometimes helpful to be able to look at the actual edges of the polygons. So in that case, edges, this option right here, will enable you to see where the edge of each face is. And so I could go in here and select specific faces if that's how I want to work. You can do that without seeing those edges, but it's easier sometimes if you can see where things start and stop that way. Another really useful option within the display area is to enable your clipping plane. So clipping plane, when you enable it, it's a plane that clips the view of the object. So if this were a completely enclosed subject right now, that would allow me to see inside. And this becomes really useful when you do things like shelling, where you're creating an offset from your outside mesh. You want to be able to see what's happening at that interface between inside and out. So enabling your clipping plane here allows you to then sort of throw that clipping plane back into the space and move it that way. And the clipping plane, it's only really sensitive to however you start it. So if I were to disable this and re-enable it, it's essentially parallel to your current view when you start. So that's a really useful tool in some cases. It doesn't get rid of the geometry, obviously. It's just a viewing tool that way. So I think that sort of covers the real basic stuff, and look for some other videos that get into repairing and filling holes and that sort of thing. Thanks a lot.